and sit down.
What is going on, dads? And to welcome to episode 55 of the Dads After Dark Show, recorded on Sunday, July 25th, 2021. We are your hosts, Drew and John, and thank you for joining us tonight for some Nintendo. And Anna Kendrick makes my sword go skyward. John, buddy, how have you been? I haven't podcasted in 2 weeks. It feels odd. It feels great to be back. I've missed you. I was gone for a week. I haven't really communicated. It's nice to be back.
You've been gone. I was like, I have to talk to Drew. He's on vacation with his family, but priorities come first, and I need some Drew time. Yeah. You're doing every other week on Disney, guys. Are we alternating, or are you doing them both in the same week?
We are alternating, but that already is starting to come to an end because we have like 4 guests lined up, and it's a shit show. So in a good way, it's a shit show in a good way. But yeah, I think the every other week is already coming to an end. Every
time you try to slow it down, you speed it up very quickly.
You know what it is? This happens all the time. It's like, I'm canceling Patreon, for the Disney guys. No one's, and then you get like a new Patreon person signs up, and then it's just like, what if you just say, I'm gonna quit the show, then all of a sudden somebody will email you, and it's like, I love your show. You keep me going every Tuesday. It's like it's the same thing with this show. It's like, you get these questions like, wow, that was awesome to see that. So. Yeah. Just when you're always out in somebody's there to bring it back up. Just like Anna Kendrick brings me back up.
Your sword goes skyward, and then you shoot out at the little Zelda icon.
That's like, when you.
How was your vacation?
It was good. It was a very family, kids-oriented vacation. We did up in New Hampshire. They have a couple of amusement parks up there. One called Storyland, which is kind of based on the story nursery rhymes, right? Humpty Dumpty, the lives in a shoe, Itsy Bitsy Spider, and it's kind of a lot of stuff based around that, which is fun and different. Oh. The old lady that lives in a shoe, is that?
Well, you said Humpty Dumpty lives in a shoe.
No, I Humpty Dumpty and then the old lady that lives in a shoe.
Okay, that's like Humpty Dumpty is like life-size egg.
Correct. Cinderella, all that other fairy tale stuff. And then the other part we did was it's called Santa's Village, and it's a Christmas themed amusement park. It's very fun.
I was disappointed to find out that the one here in Colorado isn't the only one in the entire country.
Oh, you guys have one as well?
We have the North Pole.
Oh.
So, but like, yours is Christmas all the time. Is it open during the winter though? That's like the irony. I
think it closes after Christmas.
Right.
But they
don't run rides in the winter.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, yeah, correct.
Are there rides?
Oh, there's a lot of rides. Yep.
Okay.
They have a lot of rides. No, they don't. But I guess it depends on weather dependent. But I think they try to stay open till Christmas if they can.
So as a Disney guy, what is your feeling about like other amusement parks? Like, because nobody can live up to Disney, of course. So when you go to another amusement park, what is your frame of mind? Like, are you disappointed, or can you just be just as happy?
I think I can be just as happy. It's expectations, right? It's different. It's making your kids happy. Like, we went on the Flume. My daughter is a daredevil. She loves going on any ride. So we went like on the Flume ride like 3 times in a row. Stuff like Disney, you can't do that, right? You go on the ride once.
Yeah,
and then you
gotta
move on. And there's just too much to do. So when you go to these smaller parks, it's like, if my daughter wants to go on the Flume ride 3 times in a row, we're going to go on 3 times in a row. It's fun like that, and it's more laid back. So I think that's the mentality going into it, right? And there's they have like the traditional stupid circle rides and stuff like that, but I think they also have some fun, unique rides that Disney might not have, in the other end of it. So
yeah. I love. We went to Hershey Park a couple years ago now, and like I knew it was like, oh, this is it's not going to feel like Disney, but Hershey Park's a famous park, so it wasn't that big a deal. And yeah, like it's not as crispy clean as Disney can be. It's not as polished. The rides are sometimes a little jarring, sometimes not so kid safe. But man, like we had a total blast because it wasn't as packed as Disneyland. And like you said, you can go on a ride and then when you're done, you can go on the ride again. Like, some rides didn't even have a line. We did it a few times in a row. It was really hot that day, but I mean, besides that, every ride was like new to me because I hadn't been to this park since I was a little kid.
That's the best. Yeah.
And like when we've gone to the second time we went to Disney World, we had a lot of fun because we knew Disney more. And the first time we went with Michelle's parents, and so we were kind of slowed down and it was hot, but like there was like all these rides we hadn't done, so we made sure to do all the rides we hadn't done. And it's so fun to have a new experience at Disney.
100% agree. I mean, the other good thing about Disney, it's my last soapbox, is my favorite part is the line queues. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have that in any other park in the world, right? Disney, I mean, Universal and stuff like that. But I mean, these smaller parks, you're just standing in a line with a rope. You know, Disney, it's almost like part of the line queue is it's part of the ride. It's a fun experience, right?
Because those queues are huge. I mean, like,
of course, they don't keep you entertained.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But, so we did those. We did an aquarium. We went out, dinners, lunches. We did mini golf. There's a bunch of like little mom and pop type shops, like general stores and candy stores and toy stores and stuff like that. So arcades. Played a lot of arcades. A lot of jackpots. Won a lot of tickets. I'll tell you what, my kids. Well, Evan, 4-year-old, was hitting jackpots left and right, like 1,000 tickets. I was very proud of him. Very proud of him. Wow. But while I was off on vacation, and what about you? What have you been up
to? Just relaxing. I've been doing some job hunting. Sometimes you have your dream job, and I had this one dream job for the last couple years, and I never heard back from the dream job. And then I finally heard back from the dream job and got to talk with them, and it's not going to work out. And it's disappointing, I guess. But when the older you get, you realize there are no dream jobs. If you ask me what my dream job would have been, if I was like young, like maybe high school, college, it'd have been like a game company, like working at EA, working at Blizzard, whatever. And now look, those jobs are nightmares. Of course. It's not the same. In the end, your dream job isn't always the content. Like if you told me is Nintendo my dream job, well, sure, but I'm not qualified to work on Nintendo games, and of course, it wouldn't be a great experience for me anyway. But like I think your dream job becomes, work from home, great health insurance,
stability. Yep. Yeah. Same thing. I know if I want to stay in my job for the rest of my life, I should be okay based on our contracts, so it's one of those things. Let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about, like, if you were to do a do-over, what would you go to school for?
I would still go to school for computer programming.
Wow.
I still enjoy it to this day. I still get excited learning new languages, doing new things, building apps. I still love it. I wouldn't change that, but I always thought when I was younger in my 20s, and I was still like I had a girlfriend in my 20s, but there was times when I was single in my 20s, I would have done a job where there was a lot of traveling. Go see the country, maybe one big city at a time. But there's some programming jobs that do require like a lot of travel. And I wish I would have done that. But when you're younger, the idea of being sent to like some city in Texas and having to drive around by yourself is a little scary too. Yeah. But I would have done that because as you get older, you tend to look for jobs that require less travel if you can. I don't want to leave Michelle and the kids home alone for several days.
It's tough. I hear you.
Yeah. So but like I wouldn't change my occupation at all. What about you?
Mm-hmm. I always thought for some odd reason, I feel like marketing. I don't know why. Yeah, kind of like advertising, marketing. I feel like I could get into that.
You think because you're so good at advertising Manscaped that you're
I see what you did there.
You're just, you're ready. I mean, like people don't know this, but you've been excited to talk about the Manscaped stuff, like since like the week before, like you were like really stoked.
I was ready. I was ready to go. I mean, I love,
throw it at me. Why. You're Don Draper.
I will say, today I hung up a TV in my basement. I'll was at Walmart. Well, let me rewind here. I had this TV that we bought during the pandemic. It's like, like an 18, 19 inch. We used it for a monitor. Now I don't need it anymore. Now it's a spare TV. So I said, I'm going to put it in the basement near my treadmill if I'm going to start running again. So I was at Walmart. I was going to buy a shelf. I was like, let me look at the TV mount. So this is a really small TV. I think about the smallest TV mount. On clearance, I found the TV mount for $5. And it was the best $5 I've ever spent.
Did you know it was going to fit, or like don't think it have different types? Or?
Well, I thought it was like a universal. It's like universal one.
All right.
So I installed that. I'm ready to go. Tomorrow starts my workout plan. I want to lose like almost 20 pounds. That's my goal.
Okay.
By like next year, I'm gonna go slow.
How long is your workout?
I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I'll probably run a few miles and do a few other things. Nothing crazy. Like 45 minutes if I have. The hardest time is finding time.
Yeah, I know.
Well, 45 minutes to an hour is my goal.
I have an elliptical, and my baseline workout is 20 minutes, and it's usually just because of time. I always can find time for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But there are times when I try to do like an hour. It's hard to do. But like the best thing you can do is just have something good to watch. Right now the Olympics being on is going to be really helpful.
Yep.
But if you find like a good movie, you can like split it up into a couple workouts. That's the key. If you don't have a good show to watch,
half-hour show or something. I know I need something.
Yeah, you need a good show.
I need everyone to tell me, write me in, tell me, tweet at me, tweet me out what I should watch while running.
Tweet it out.
It can't be like, I love a good horror story or something like that, but a horror show, but not for running. I need something that's going to be like a 25-minute show.
You want a good show that you can watch beginning to end.
Yeah.
So the best stuff that I've seen is I've watched a lot of shows, like even hour-long shows, and it'll take me like sometimes 2 or 3 workouts per episode, and it does get hard because you're in the middle of something. But my favorite shows are the ones where, like you said, they're like 20 to 25 minutes, and every episode is standalone. And for that, Forensic Files. There's so many episodes of Forensic Files on Netflix. They're all entertaining. There's no sequentialness to it.
Yeah.
So if you like murder shows, Forensic Files is great. That's a good one. And then there's like the TED, not the TED Talks, but there's Explained on Netflix. There's some of those shows where you like learn a topic.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are interesting too. If you want to watch a show, I will always mention my favorite show of all time, Sense8 on Netflix.
What's this about?
It's like it's my favorite show of all time, but not a lot of people have seen it. It's like basically these 8 people that are connected. They're just connected through their brains. They're all over the world. And they all experience what they're experiencing. So if one's listening to a song, they can all hear it. But it's really cool. And the way they filmed that show, they actually filmed it on location in 8 different parts of the world. And there are like scenes, a lot of scenes where they're doing the same scene, but they're filming it like months between each other and in 2 different locations. And they sync it up, and it's really cool. It's really cool. It lasted a couple seasons. Got a final movie. It was really good. Kind of didn't last as long as it really should have, but
interesting.
And then I really want to rewatch Sopranos too. On
that's a good one. I agree. There's so much. The problem with those is it's just so much TV.
It's a lot of TV.
It is a lot,
but it's really good. But yeah, they're long episodes.
Well, before we move on, last question for you. I think we have not talked since the pre-orders of the OLED Switch has come out.
That's right.
So, get one? I have a story about mine. Did you get one?
I did. I was getting nervous.
I was too.
The pre-orders started here. It was like 1 o'clock. Meeting.
Oh yeah, it was 3 o'clock for me.
Here it was like yeah. So here it was 1. I had a work meeting from 12:30 to 1:30, so it was happening right in the middle of my meeting, and I was waiting on Best Buy, and I had Walmart up and GameStop up and Target up and Amazon up, and it took me 20 minutes before Best Buy kind of went live, because Best Buy is very local, and at my area it didn't go up for pre-order, and it took about 20 minutes, and I got in the Best Buy queue with 2 different devices, and I was able to get a white one. I really wanted to get that white one. I would have gotten a neon if I needed to, but I got the white one. So
can we just agree Best Buy understands how to do it? They do it well. They get it. They get it. So I was nervous. I was asking you to help me. I had tee times at 3:00. I was golfing at 3. I'm literally on the first tee, and the guy I'm playing with is like, "Hey Drew, you gonna hit?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. Why don't you go ahead?" And I'm like sitting on my phone. I was like, I gotta do something. Hold on. And so he hit, and then he's like, "You're up." I was like, "Yep, okay." So I was like, "Damn it!" All right, so I go hit. Walking down the first fairway, I'm like texting Amy. I told Amy what to do. I said, "You gotta get this for me." She's trying. Now we're on the, she's texting me. I was like, she's like, "I don't know. I'm in this queue, blah, blah." And then I was like, I give up, but I have to golf. I have to focus. I did birdie the first hole, though. That's all that matters. Wow. So then the next hole I hit, and then I'm like, walk down the fairway, and Amy texts me. She's like, "Got it." So Amy saved the day. Amy, my wife, got it for me.
It was about 40 minutes in. I was like,
it was a while in. Yeah, it was probably, it was. So, but I got it. That's all that matters.
Did you get it for pickup or delivery?
Pickup.
Okay. That's what I prefer. I prefer pickup
for something like that. Yeah, like I did delivery on the Joy-Cons. Like I didn't need the Joy-Cons the second they came out, so I didn't care.
What do you mean? What Joy-Cons? The
Zelda Joy.
Okay.
Like those were delivery. Stuff like this, I would definitely do pickup.
Plus, I don't trust the box damage and stuff like that. But like, I'll probably take the day off and grab it and start moving things over. But yeah, and it sounded like even though pre-ordering was tough, it's come up on Amazon and Target after the fact. I still see, they're available. So I mean, I think everyone who wanted one should have been able to get one. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of opportunity, but yeah, it was a little scary when it started. I can't wait to see the screen.
I know. I'll tell you what, my family's pumped because now they're getting to keep the old one. Mm-hmm. So my wife and kids will have that one.
Are you going to set up 2 docks? How are you going to do it?
I don't know, John. I'm going to have to consult you on that one.
I mean, you could just put a second dock, adapter, and a second HDMI.
That's probably fine. But am I going to have to get like the family plan? I don't. There's a lot to think about. I'm new to this.
You're going to need the family plan. So instead of $20 a year, it's $35 a year. But if you know somebody who has the Switch who doesn't have online, you can maybe get them to chip in and put them on your family. You know what I mean? So if you know anyone who has a Switch that doesn't have the online, you can say, "Hey, for $10, pay me."
That's true.
And you don't have to pay $20.
We'll figure it out. But my kids are pumped to kind of have their own Switch. I can't even get into it. It's going to be another long story, but I've given them my old 3DSs. So that's been keeping them busy lately. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
nice.
All
right. What do you say? Let's see what we've been playing this week. All right, Drew, we both played a little game called Skyward Sword HD, but we are not going to talk about that yet.
Not yet.
Wait till later in the show. We have a lot to say about this game. So let's talk about everything but. And you and I have played a lot. I played very little this week other than Skyward Sword. Mm-hmm. I will start because I think mine are less relevant. I am still playing Slay the Spire. Not as much this past week as the previous week, but I was just dead set on getting past Ascension level 4. I think I mentioned this before, but my goal is to get the Ascension level 5 to show up for Ironclad, and then I said I'm gonna try one of the other characters. I want to get to level 5 for all 4 of the characters, and then figure out what do I want to do, because I don't want to go for like Ascension level 20 or anything. It's crazy, but I have lost. I forgot the last count, like 28 runs in a row on Ascension level 4. I've hit the final boss like 4 times and died. I don't know what to do. It's not a scenario where you got to get good. Like, I have played so many times. Every time I play, I learn something. I learn, some extra capability of a card. I tried an exhaustion deck strategy where I had a lot of cards that did exhaust and then cards that reacted to exhaust.
Yeah.
I love the strength decks where you just do, strength increases. What is it? Demon Form, which is a really fun.
The one,
the
one that does like 32 damage and you can like stack it up and double it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've tried those a lot. I have fun with those. I've tried so many different forms. I'm learning. Every so often when I do a run, I will just grab some random card I've never picked before just to pick something new. I've learned a lot.
What's your strategy when you go to the shops?
When I go to the shops, I generally will try to remove one card.
Okay.
First, I make sure there's not. I usually look at the relics first.
Yeah, you always got to buy relics.
Yeah.
Relic. That's what I found this game's all about.
I'll look at the relics first, then I'll look at the cards if there's like a particular favorite card I like or something, but then I'll try to like remove a card, and I usually am always removing either the original blocks or the original strikes.
See, I don't do that. I save my money. I don't remove cards.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I mean, the advantage to removing cards is that you can get to the cards that you really that are really powerful. But you never really have, like, if you have a really tiny deck, if you have a tiny deck, like let's say 10 cards, you could have a really powerful card that just comes up every couple of cycles. But it's so hard to get down to that few of cards.
It is hard. I agree. It is very hard.
Yeah.
The tiny deck is hard.
It's tough having a tiny deck.
That's hard.
But yeah, no, I've tried lots of different strategies on it. I've done everything. I have particular boss relics that I really like. I like the one. There is one where you get an extra energy against elites and bosses, which I really like because that's when I really, really need the extra energy. And they don't have any negative to them. So it's like, okay, I won't get the extra energy for regular fights, but I'll get it for when I really, really need them. I love when they replace your Ironclad relic with one that gives you 16 health.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or no, 12 health. It gives you, instead of 6 health, it gives you 12. I love the ice cream cone. I think that's my all-time favorite relic.
What's that one do?
That's the one where if you don't use energy on a turn, it saves it for the next turn. So like if you're doing a fight and let's say you have 3 energy and the enemy is not attacking you, and you only have 1 attack card. Usually I would just use the defenses anyway, just in case I was mistaken. But you can just save those 2 energy, and then the next turn you have 5 energy.
Oh, those are nice.
There's just different strategies with different people, and I love that one. But God, no matter what happens, I just can't beat Ascension level 4.
I'll tell you what, really this game is just fantastic. It's so fun. I mean, I wish the runs were maybe a tiny bit shorter, but besides that, it's such a fun game to just pick up and play. It really, really. I mean, this game is the game that just never stops giving. I'm glad to see you're still playing, John.
It's also a good nighttime game. Like if we're watching a show.
Oh yeah,
I don't even need the volume up. I really don't need to hear it, and I'll just sit there and stop. If I don't have to look at the action if I'm looking at the show or whatever.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'm still trying. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna start Chris Tales. We talked about this one. Chris Tales. Came out July 20th. Came out for Switch day and date, launch date. But I was going to play it on Xbox, at least try it on Xbox because it was on Game Pass.
Oh, that's right. It's the time one. Yeah.
So I booted it up, and I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm going to give 20 minutes and boot this thing up. And I was kind of surprised. Like, there's an opening cutscene, and the cutscene had screen tearing on it. It was the weirdest thing. This is I think it's like an indie title. I think it's a small studio title, not indie. And it's on an Xbox Series X. And the cutscene was screen tearing. it was so bad. It was so noticeable. It was throwing me off. And I barely watched the cutscene because I was so like shocked by the screen tearing. And then it gets right into a battle, and which is just really unusual for an RPG. An RPG you usually wake up in bed, and you talk to your mom, and it's like I'm in a battle, and it's because the cutscene, which is only like 30 seconds or so, is telling you the story for real leading up to the first battle. And then, it was like, JRPG stuff. I only played for about 10 minutes or so. And then I decided that I'm just not going to play it yet because of the screen tearing, which is a really minor issue, I know. But I heard from the developer that they have a fix that's basically coming. I think it's in review. We're ready. So I was like playing Skyward Sword. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just finish Skyward Sword and then I'll come back to this when they fix the screen tearing. No big deal. Either way, I'm going to be playing both games. So hopefully next week I can talk more about Chris Tales, but it looks really great. The Switch version didn't have the problem. It did have one other problem we'll talk about later.
Okay.
But other than that, other than Slay this Skyward Sword, Slay the Spire, Sky the Sword, Score the Sky the Spire, Score. That's what I've been playing. How about you? I know what you've been playing, but
yes, I've been playing Skyward Sword and Mario Golf, which we both will be talking about later. I did play a little bit Slay the Spire. I think you made me jump on once or twice. Then I played maybe 3 runs in total. But that's it. I've been playing those other 2 games pretty nonstop. Plus, I was on vacation. I did not bring my Switch. I tried to be a good dad and focus on family stuff.
While you were twitching.
Yes.
Funny story. You came back from vacation. You wrote me and you were like, I'm home and all that stuff. And you were all excited or whatever. 5 minutes later, little indicator in the top left corner, Drew, Mario Golf, Super Rush. I was like, well, that didn't take long.
I missed it. I needed a couple more runs. I was just exhausted. It took us like an extra hour to get home. There's so much traffic, and it was 4 hours to begin with. So it was just we were in the car all day. We left the house. We left New Hampshire at 9:30, and we got home at 5. But we stopped for 2 hours and did some stuff. But it was still just a long on the road type day.
East Coast traffic, baby.
East Coast traffic. But John, you know what I love? I love freshly shaved balls. So support for the.
You want me to turn my cam on? Oh! You're going into the. Okay, sorry.
Oh yes. Well, maybe we do a little show and tell later. Awkward. But support for the Dad's After Dark Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best of men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Family jewels. I always thought that was an odd choice of words, but Manscaped just finished their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard it right, folks, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. And for an exclusive offer, you get 20% off your next purchase. You know what I love, John, also? Free shipping. That's big, because usually they add that extra $10 on, but 20% off and free shipping. So it's really like a double whammy. Just use the code NINDADS, NINDADS at manscaped.com. And this is it. This is your last chance, because end of July, this deal is over. You're not getting 20% off anymore. You're not getting free shipping. But John, you know why I truly love Manscaping? 2 things. 1, makes your penis look bigger. That is a fact. That is a hard fact.
I mean, it gets you to 5 inches, so I think it really matters.
It does. It makes it look bigger. Number 2, it makes sets so much better. I'm not just saying that. It improves your sets. It does. Mm-hmm. It does. So why not use Manscaped tools, who are, again, designed, engineered for this stuff? Don't use your beard trimmer. Don't use the straight razor. Lawnmower that sucker up. What I like? The lawnmower has the different settings, right? So it's kind of like a hair trimmer, where if you want to go, really short, if you want to leave a little growth in there, you can pick your options.
You can get really short. Like that's my biggest warning is like be careful. You can get really. My first time I went way too short because I didn't know you're not familiar with it, and you can end up being really short. You could have an itchy couple days. But we always talk about the baby powder.
Baby powder, that sucker up.
But you have to take some care. So just be careful, be slow that first time.
So again, 20% off seems like a no-brainer, John. 20% off your entire purchase and free shipping. Nindads at manscape.com. That's it. It's your last chance.
Go right now.
Tell everybody we told you to go, and you went and did it.
Right. This runs until the end of the month.
Or your boyfriend or your dog. All of those people will be happy that you shaved your balls.
I think it's time for a top 10 countdown.
Top 10.
Number 10.
Drew, the Olympics started this week. I know you've been on vacation. Have you been able to watch? Are you interested in? What's your Olympics outlook
I love
there?
watching the Olympics. My wife gets into it. I get into it. It's amazing. I do have to say, is there anything more boring than the opening ceremony? I'm sorry, not to be an asshole. It's brutal. It's like 5 hours of just watching people walk.
So this year they did the video game music. I really have been wanting to watch it. I'm going to give it a watch tomorrow just while I work in the background. But they did all the video game music, so I do want to see it.
Yeah.
And if you remember at the end of the 2018 Olympics, which is weird because we're a year delayed, did you notice they're still calling it the 2020 Olympics? I think.
There's signs everywhere. Well, you got to remember these things. My wife said that the other day. She goes, "Why is there all these, empty bleachers? Like, why did they even waste the time and money?" I was like, "Because they built this thing 5 years ago."
Yeah, exactly.
They've been built. Japan has probably been building this for the last 5 to 8 years. It takes forever to build stadiums and pools and tracks and whatever the hell they have nowadays. Skateboarding, apparently.
Yeah, no, and some of them, there's been fans at some of them, and some of them haven't. But when they did the 2018 Olympics, they actually did the closing ceremony, and they always do sort of a look ahead to the next Olympics. And that's when they had Mario coming out of the pipe. Yeah. And like Japan was gonna go with and they've really gone with like the video game theme anime. So if you're like a geek, like this is the Olympics for you.
That's true. So what would you say is your favorite? Have you been watching, you and Michelle? What's your favorite to watch?
I haven't watched too much, but I'm basically I'm gonna watch a lot this week. Like while I'm working, I'm gonna put it on. We did watch the 3x3 3 versus 3 basketball.
Is it not the best thing ever? I don't even like watching basketball.
It was really interesting. Yeah, I think that's a new. I don't know if it's a new Olympic sport this year, but it's a sport that's been around.
There's a few great things about this if you guys haven't watched it yet. One, it's only a half court. This is like your schoolyard basketball game, right? You have to pretty much throw it to the outside circle to like reset, and then you're shooting at the same hoop. The games are 10 minutes long. Amazing.
Yeah.
1 point and 2 pointers. That's it. And then if it's tied, I watched an amazing Japan versus Belgium or whoever it was game the other day. And it was if it's tied, it's the first person to get 2 baskets wins. That's it. It's incredible. It's just it's so rapid fire. It's so fun. And the games, like I said, are only 10 minutes long. So like you can watch them very quickly. I like that a lot.
It reminds me, like, remember NBA Jam, right? Like, you take a sport and you distill it to its element. Jordan versus Bird and NBA Jam, and it's fun to see, and it reminds me of White Men Can't Jump, and I really liked it. I like the gray court too. It was like, wow, what is this? Because I thought I was watching basketball, and we were watching the women's U.S. versus Mongolia. Okay. And one of the ladies was just so much bigger than everybody else.
Yeah, the U.S. girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I watched her play somebody else. Yep, she is.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then I also saw my least favorite sport, which is men's gymnastics. Oh. This is one sport where the men's there's some sports I like the women's better, some I like the men's better. Yep. Men's gymnastics is like on the floor. I mean, I love watching the women's gymnastics, especially in a year where we have like Simone Biles on the women's side. But man, it's just so boring. The guys are so top heavy, they have massive arms.
I know,
but just boring.
I have a hard time watching stuff that you get like a score for. Like you're awarded an 8 point. I'm like, to me, like I could watch that, but oh wow, they killed it. And then like 5.4. I'm like, what? why? So it's like I don't like. I want to just watch something like you scored a goal or or something like that. Have you watched any water polo?
I haven't.
Water polo in general, if you think about this, it might be one of the hardest sports on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't touch the bottom. You can't stand up. You have to float the whole time.
You're in deep water, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the other one that's awesome, have you watched handball?
I have not watched handball.
Handball is incredible. You got to watch some handball. I just watch it.
I usually like watching the volleyball.
I like watching volleyball. Yep.
I'm definitely a winter Olympics guy. I can sit there and watch the Winter Olympics all day, the luge and all that. Summer Olympics, I do like watching volleyball. Swimming is okay.
Yeah.
Women's gymnastics I like, but I mean overall there's not too many that I do watch, but I love when the Olympics are on. I always start off slow and then I'm just watching just tons and tons of Olympics and learning new sports and all that. Yeah.
So, John, being the Dads After Darts show, I think there's some controversy that we should talk about here. Explain to the good listeners what's happening.
Well, these girls on Twitch are in hot tubs. And what's happening is, this is the Olympics. So it's kind of embarrassing, Drew. For some reason, the Olympics, I don't know why the Olympics Federation isn't just like inclusive. Do you remember, this is totally off topic, but it was like 15 years ago, there was a golfer who had like a bad leg, like genetically, and he wanted to use a cart and they wouldn't let him use the cart on like, I don't know if it was like the majors or just the PGA in general. And he was like a really good younger golfer and like, but he can't walk the course. And it became kind of a controversy where it's like, they say he's got to walk the course. It's got to be fair and equal, but it's like, but it's not. He's got like a really bad leg.
Yeah.
And that's what this reminds me of. Like the Olympics, for some reason, every decision they make against an athlete has been against the female athletes.
Yeah.
There were swim caps for like black women's hair.
Yeah.
They wouldn't allow. They were dinging women. There was one woman who had her shorts were too short, and then I swear the next day they dinged a team because their shorts were too long. It's just been one after another. But this whole thing where if you watch beach volleyball, the women wear like bikini bottoms. There's a lot of sports. We remember the pole vaulting that they wear bikini bottoms. And some of the women's teams don't want to wear bikini bottoms. They're athletes. They're not there to be Sports Illustrated models.
Yep.
And they won't let them. So like I think one of the teams, I can't remember what sport it was. Was it can't remember what sport it was, but they were wearing like shorts and they got fined for wearing shorts.
Yes, I thought it was volleyball.
Was it volleyball? I think it was volleyball. It's sort of ridiculous. I don't know who watches a sport just because of what the women are wearing. But like I just want to say, like I was watching the men's beach volleyball yesterday, and as I was talking to my wife while we're driving, we're talking about the beach volleyball, and I said, well, the men don't wear shirts either, like they like kind of sexualize both of them. It's just that men and women are interested in different things in general. But then I was watching the beach volleyball and the men had shirts on.
Oh, really?
Which didn't make sense because the beach volleyball was indoor. So it wasn't like sun exposure.
You know what it is? I think that you got to remember here, a lot of the Olympic Committee and all these countries, they're not where the United States is with feminism and equal, all of that stuff, right? It's not the same for a lot of these other countries. So for other countries to tell a woman, no, you cannot wear shorts, you have to wear a bikini, to them it's just like every day. Right. For us, from the United States, it's like, whoa, like let the woman wear whatever the hell she wants. Who cares? She has to wear sweatpants and plays beach volleyball.
Exactly.
Who cares? But to them, no, like it's a very, we dictate. And I think that's what it kind of is.
I think every country is, got to be on their own, right? Like we can't say, hey, this particular country in Europe, you need to dress this way. I think every team, every women's team, every men's team should dress the way they want. I say the only rule should be that the team has to be uniform. So if you're going to wear bikini bottoms, everyone needs to wear bikini bottoms. If you're going to wear shorts, everyone has to wear the shorts.
I agree.
And as long as you agree, then that's what you should wear. Unless, of course, the outfit they chose imparts some kind of advantage. But in this case, no, shorts don't impart an advantage. It's just silly, and it's gross because I do like watching women's volleyball. And when the beach volleyball comes on, I get kind of uncomfortable. Like, I'm like, can I watch this with the kids in the room? You know, because it's like there's like literal butt cheeks. And it's like I just want to watch beach volleyball and not feel like a perv.
The problem is a lot of these athletes, men and women, their body shapes are just so weird. I mean, volleyball's not too bad, but like you see like swimmers and gymnastics, like they're not attractive to me because they're very like broad shoulders and like big thighs. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
they can be,
Olympian athletes just have a different body types. That's all I'm saying.
I did the women's volleyball players definitely have great legs. I'll give it to them. They got great legs. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely some sports where like speed skaters have really weird bodies. I know they're not wearing bikini bottoms, but they are. Just let everyone wear. I might enjoy watching beach volleyball with the girls wearing bikini bottoms, but it's not about us and what we're enjoying there.
Well, it should be
about them. It should be. It should be. Okay, nude Olympics are going to go back to the way it was.
That's what I like.
See, that would be worse. I don't want to see the jiggling.
Oh, you're right.
Maybe in slow-mo. Can you imagine like a slow-mo like
the
volleyball
replay?
spike? Like actually, I do want to see that once to see what happens to a boob during a spike.
Yeah, what happens if it hits him in the? What happens if it hits him in the boob? They do it.
It'd be like wow.
It's like oh.
And then all the women have to be like large-chested. Okay, large-chested nude beach volleyball in slow-mo. This isn't for the Olympics. This is just like on the Playboy channel or something.
90 degrees. I want them sweating. I want the sweat up.
Yes. All right, so we'll end that segment about women should dress how they want to by completely sexualizing women.
Go Team USA.
Go Dads After Dark.
Number 9.
John, if you could remake any NES game, what would it be?
This is a great question. I had to think about this one.
I'm going to use the example of what they just did with Ghosts and Goblins. Like, if you could do what they did with Ghosts and Goblins for any NES specific game, what would it be?
I wouldn't have chosen that one, but so I had to think about this one. What makes a game ripe for remake? Like, what is the goal? Like, I loved this game. Like, I love Contra. So do I want a remade Contra? And I thought about it, and I was like, no. I wouldn't mind a new Contra, but I would want the Contra to look like a retro game. Like that's what I would want. Okay. Are you picking a game because it's a game you loved? I've actually wanted to see like kind of a Link's Awakening treatment to like the original Zelda and Adventure of Link. I'd love to see that. But it came down to a game that had potential, but maybe wasn't implemented quite right on the NES.
Okay.
Game that comes to mind is Ice Climber. I would like to see Ice Climber remake because I love the concept of Ice Climber, especially 2-player co-op. I think it's one of the more fun co-op games. But the jumping mechanics are broken on the game. And it's never been fixed in a sequel or a remake or anything. Can we fix the jumping so that it's like, because most of the time when you jump in Ice Climber, you can jump, but your horizontal movement is extremely limited. And I think there's some implementation problems with like how you're jumping all the way up through like a little hole, but then you need to kind of get onto the lip. But most of the time you go up and then you come right back down. So I'd like to see the control mechanics improved, and then, give the game a little bit more variety and update the graphics a little bit. But I'd love to see an Ice Maker remake, and then 2-player online, maybe even 4-player online co-op. I think it'd be fun. I can see that as something Nintendo would do someday.
That's a good one. So it's funny. I started thinking about this one, and I realized they made a lot. They've remade a lot of NES games. Ghosts and Goblins 1. Then I thought about games I used to love playing with my buddies. I used to love playing Bubble Bobble. They kind of remade that. Then I was like, well, what else? I love playing Ninja Turtles Arcade. They are remaking that.
Right. The
right,
brawl.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm like, well, what else really is there? And then I'm gonna say this is gonna be the freebie. This is the freebie that everybody's thinking right now. Super Mario Brothers 2. Everybody wants like an upgraded graphics, new resolution, something that's like looks 3D depth a little bit with more backgrounds, maybe a couple bonus levels or something like that.
Yeah.
But I would say my main one that I want, and maybe this is a completely remake with the same theme, maybe different control scheme because I didn't like the control scheme. Maniac Mansion.
Oh.
Maybe get away from the point and click game, but make it a more similar, but I don't know, but find a way to get away from the point and click.
I never played Maniac Mansion. Was that LucasArts?
Yeah, I mean it's Monkey Island, it's King's Quest, it's very similar to all those.
I never played it on NES, but I never played it on PC either. I think I saw someone like play the beginning of it maybe, but I did play Thimbleweed Park on Switch, and the controls for that are very similar to Maniac Mansion.
Yep.
And they worked really well. I had a really fun time playing that game. So I think you could remake Maniac Mansion and kind of keep it in that same play style. It actually doesn't work too badly. I would love to see that. I've always wanted to play that original. I'd probably only play it on the PC, but I really want to play that game.
Oh, while you're at it, you could come out with the second one, which I think was Day of the Tentacle. I want to say it was.
That is on.
But that wasn't on any. That was on PC.
It's on Xbox. It's actually on Game Pass.
Okay. They must have remade that for what? Xbox original?
Yeah, I don't think it's on Switch. I don't know what they.
It's not.
Yeah. But that one has been around.
That one has,
not the original Maniac Mansion.
Must be some LucasArts thing, because I don't know if they made the second one.
And the name is more famous too. Maniac Mansion. You hear that a lot more than Day of the Tentacle.
It's a classic.
I agree.
That's what I would do.
All right. Cool. Let's do it.
Number 8.
Drew, Reggie Fils-Aime has a new book coming out.
I'm not familiar with this.
I feel like we've gotten a lot of Nintendo books lately. We got the Iwata book. We've gotten I named one other book, Drew. No, but I do feel like we've gotten like Nintendo books, and I'm kind of interested in this. It's supposed to come out in May 2022. Here is what the book description is, in case you're thinking about it. Gaming legend and boss-level disruptor Reggie Fils-Aime, retired president and chief operating officer of Nintendo of America, shares leadership lessons and inspiring stories from his unlikely rise to the top. He mastered these lessons to build a long and storied career, and you can leverage these lessons to springboard your own ultimate success and happiness. Basically goes on, we're looking at this from a business point of view. They love the word disruptive. Basically this idea. I mean, Reggie's kind of there for like the Wii, and so we're talking disruptive. We're talking about like doing things to the video game industry to kind of shake it up. But yeah, like
I actually love this type of stuff. I actually read quite a few books regarding this type of topic for my work and my job position. I just finished reading one called Extreme Ownership, which is like a Navy SEAL Marine, who just talks about owning all of the actions, even if you weren't the one that created the action and stuff. So, yeah, this sounds great. I'm all in on this.
Yeah, he did. He was teaching a college course, I think, for a year, and I bet you a lot of the stuff he taught is going to end up in this book. Yeah, it could be interesting. I hope he really talks about some like low level. Like he can't get too much into the Nintendo stuff. I'm sure Nintendo's going to have to clear it, but. It'll be a bit businessy too, but this would be nice if there's a bunch of just kind of like inside Nintendo stuff. Maybe Mother 3 was about to be released and then we canceled it. That would be cool to see. But interesting.
Very interesting.
Day 1?
Maybe they'll have it booked on tape would be nice.
Oh, if he's reading it too?
Number 7.
John, I bought a board game while I was on vacation, and I texted you, and I didn't like your response. So I'm going to tell the listeners so maybe they'll like the response. The board game I purchased was Super Mario Life, like the game of life.
You can be
Now,
a winner at the
now,
game of life.
before everybody starts judging on the game of life, this game is the most misleading thing I've ever purchased, read, looked at in my entire life. No pun intended. Now, everyone knows what the game of life is, right? You get married, you have babies, you go around the board, you go to the end. Super Mario Life is legit Mario Party board game. That's what it's Mario Party. It's 100% Mario Party. There's about 5 or 6 different lands. You have to go to each land and collect a star. You put it on your little character thing, kind of like you do with the people in life, right? Throughout that, you can get companions, right? So you get a companion card. For example, it might be Toadette. It could be whoever is not a playable character, and they help you like perch through the games. Like if somebody rolls a 4, you get coins. And you have to collect coins throughout the game too, because you need 10 coins to buy a star when you land on that space. Also, they have mini games. There's a mini game wheel. If you land on the mini game wheel, you legit pull a card, and it's a mini game. It might be pick a person and do a thumb war. It might say pick a person and do rock, paper, scissors. And then it'll tell you if you lose 10 coins, or you have to trade stars. There's games like you roll, whoever gets the higher number wins. So there's mini games. And the goal is you have to go fight Bowser. And you can go fight Bowser. It's like Breath of the Wild. You can go fight him at any time you want. The problem is to defeat Bowser, you need to roll a 12. Obviously, in the game of life, 10 is the match score. For every star that you have, adds 1 to your roll. So obviously, maybe there's 6 stars. The more stars you get, the better chance of beating Bowser. The first person to beat Bowser wins the game. It's it. It's fantastic. It's literally nothing to do about life. I mean, the board's set up kind of like life. The wheel looks exactly like life. But there's no aspects of the life game. You collect coins, you want to buy stars, and you do whatever you do, battle the other game players to prevent them from doing it. That's it.
That's interesting. I mean, they went with the branding of life, but I mean, life is mostly a game that's attractive to, some of the older people, right? Young kids don't know what life is. That it was more popular in our generation. And so why didn't they just call it like Mario Party, the board game?
It should have been Mario Party, or literally Mario Party, or I don't know. They should have called it something. I found it at Walmart. I think it was like $30, $25. But yeah, I was just looking. I don't on Amazon. It's don't buy it on Amazon. It's expensive. But
is it because it's sold out and people are gouging on it?
Might be. I have no idea if it's new or whatnot. I just happened to see it in the store. And
yeah,
the playable characters are Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Yoshi. But it says like 8+, but my kids played it 4 and 7. They figured it out just fine.
When we went up to the cabin like a month ago or so, we brought Super Mario Kart Monopoly.
That one looks awesome.
Yeah, I can't. It's not the exact name of it,
but it's not Red Lamar.
It was kind of Monopoly. I mean, there was a board and like where all the properties were. There were proper Nintendo stuff, but the rules were totally different. It was very coin based. You were constantly gaining coins, losing coins. It was fun, but like the regular gameplay kind of diverged from Monopoly just a bit, enough to feel really weird. But my biggest complaint was that like every turn, like the turns weren't relaxing. Every turn there was like some choices and coins going back and forth. Like if you're a banker in that game, it was a lot of work. But it was fun. So I like the game of life. But I don't know. I was a little like, oh, come on.
This one's fun. This one is fun. Right. Recommend it.
All right.
Let's step up the intensity. Ouch. Now that was a great workout.
Number 6.
Drew, got a question for you. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Chris Tales came out July 20th. Obviously, the Xbox version had screen tearing, unbelievably. The most powerful home console had screen tearing. But there was an issue on the Switch version, and I haven't experienced this firsthand, but I've seen everyone have a complaint about it. The load times. There are frequent load times, I think, between all the battling. JRPGs are very susceptible to this, because when you play a JRPG, you're always like going into a battle, doing your fight, going back to the overworld, randomized battle again, battle. And if the loading time on those is long, it can get really sluggish and unbearable to play, because you keep forgetting what you were doing by the time the loading finishes. Mm-hmm. So I came up with a question on this one.
Sure.
What is a technical, let's say, limitation in a game that really ruins it for you? So I'm not talking about the game itself, or, in a perfect world what that game is, but in reality, in the actual execution of the game, what is some technical glitch or hiccup that really can ruin a game for you?
John, you realize you're talking to the guy that played through Pine. I mean, there's not much that can stop me from playing a game. It's a tough one. I mean, I guess there's if it has bad direction, I mean, if it's a new type of game and you have no idea what you're supposed to do next, right? I think that can be tricky. I mean, we've all done it in Zelda, right? Any Zelda game gets stuck, but I mean, I think that's a little bit different, because there's enough you can kind of figure it out. But something on that line, I think, is always an issue for me, right? You don't know how to beat a boss. I mean, there should always be something that helps guide you, in my eyes. Does that make sense?
Right.
Or it should be obvious. I don't know if that's really what you're looking for here. If that's a technical or more.
No,
of a...
I know you tolerate like technical stuff a lot. But yeah, like there are things that will make me not interested in the game, and load times are definitely one of them. There was a game that Jesse had tried out a few years ago, I guess Y2K, which was an RPG. And there was like load times were just ridiculous on it. For every battle. And it was like a game that I was kind of interested in. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, no way. But for me, like, frame rate is something that will bother me so much so that, like, I wasn't interested in Pokemon Unite, but I think the game looks really polished and smooth on the Switch. So I might actually give it a try. But if we got the same normal kind of, half-assed frame rate and like that sort of performance, it'd be like definitely no way. But crashes and stuff are also like can put you off on a game. But yeah, like, are you the kind of guy, like, with load times, for example, do you keep your like phone with you when you play games like that sometimes?
Yeah, I'm not I mean, load times can blow, but yeah, I'm usually so distracted with something else in the room. But yeah, I definitely have my phone next to me for certain things like that. I agree with that.
Mario Golf really keeps the phone away. Even like the boot time on that game is like instant. You like boot it up, you go right to the cutscene.
Yeah, yep, it's fast. I agree.
Ready to go. And you can even fast forward when you hit the shot, right? And it's in the air and coming down.
You can play if you're not playing speed golf. I know everyone's angry at me about that. Sorry, whatever, it's done. Yeah, if you're not playing speed golf, you can play at 18 holes relatively fast.
It's fast.
And they have the ability to restart very quick, which is a nice key feature in any game.
Restart the 18 holes, or
yeah, you can't restart a shot or anything, but you can just hit pause and restart from the first hole, a matter of seconds.
Right.
But a loaded time sucks. I agree with that one. I mean, I don't think I play enough games that have that type of issue. I mean, Pine legit had every issue you could think of between loading times, bugs, glitches, not knowing what to do, frame rate, cutscenes with bad camera angles, getting stuck in the ground. I mean, you name it, Pine had a technical issue.
I remember seeing that on Pine when you like died, like the load time was really long, and the initial load time when you just started the game was horrendous. You know what else had really bad load times, I thought, on Switch? And I didn't play it on Switch, but I watched it, was Phoenix Rising.
Yes, it did. It remember we did that comparison?
Mm-hmm. Like if you're going into a dungeon.
It's so funny you bring that the game up every once in a while because I actually really enjoyed it, but it's so forgettable. Like I forget that game ever existed in my mind until you bring it up every once in a while. And I enjoyed it. It was fun, but it's so weird. It's like it's erased from memory.
That was its biggest downfall. And when you see people on social media say, I really love this game, and I've seen people say it's better than Breath of the Wild, I'm just like, you must be in the first few hours of the game because it doesn't have a soul. It just it's forgettable. In fact, if the name of the character wasn't in the title, you'd probably forget the name of your character.
Oh my God, 100%.
It's very forgettable. And it was so polished and smooth.
You're right. And when I think back about it, like, oh, it's so fun exploring. It's very colorful. I loved like that graphic style. But I'm like, yeah, it's forgettable.
Yeah, secrets were everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just didn't. Yeah, it's just not. It's the Avatar of video games.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
But it really
don't
is.
Understand.
True. You might disagree, but it really is. But yeah, just to wrap that up, I think games can be ruined by it. And one last example, Bloodstained. When I played Bloodstained, I really thought I wasn't going to enjoy Bloodstained because it had such a rocky launch on Switch. And then I played it like 6 months later because I was waiting for the patches and everything. And I really enjoyed that game. And I didn't realize, it didn't occur to me that the frame rate's actually not really good on the Switch. And I saw footage of it on I think it was PlayStation, even like just PS4 at the time. And I was like, wow, this looks so much better. It had like 60 frames per second, looks so smooth. I wanted to play the whole game again, just because I wanted to experience it looking so much better. But that's how much I really like that game, that even the technical limitations there didn't even bug me. But they can. And I don't think I can play Chris Tales on the Switch now. Like I was going to play it on Xbox and maybe play it on Switch, but I'm going to stick to my Series X because those load times won't exist.
Fair. But
fair. Looking forward to it.
Number 5.
Okay, Drew, the Nintendo Switch OLED has been released. Well, not released, but put on pre-order.
Yep.
We're both getting it. Ignoring the fact that we don't have to think about this. Just the OLED model. Let's pretend the OLED model is, it's not going to be, not more RAM, not more CPU power. We could very well go the entire Switch generation without a Pro model. I'm going to do air quotes here. A Pro model. So let's take a look at a second. Let's just assume there won't be. What does the next generation Nintendo console, I'm going to be as generic as possible, what does the next generation Nintendo console look like to you? What would you like to see?
So this is a weird question because my answer is really weird.
You're weird.
Well, that's true. Nothing. I hope the Switch stays the Switch for the next 20 years. I'm fine with that. And I think they'll do exactly what they just did. I mean, this is kind of the third iteration of the Switch. However, it's also the first price increase, so it's weird in that sense. But I'm okay with the Switch the way it is. I love the ability to play on my couch, play on the go, as well as play on the TV through a dock. I think if every 2 years they just did some type of upgrade, and maybe at one of those years it'll be 4K when it's affordable for Nintendo to do it, and one of those upgrades will be, whatever else. That's fine. But I love the design of the Switch. I don't know if I could say that about some of the past consoles, but what else? I mean, what else is there? What else do I need?
Every week I try to push you, Drew, to be like, I want more power.
I don't.
And you just
power.
You just don't care about.
Well, let
power.
me say this. Let me say, I will care about power if it was a guaranteed bringing me new games, right? Like, I talked about this in the past. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I need a Lord of the Rings game on the Switch. You know, they have all these new Lord of the Rings games that could never be handled on the Switch. So if it's going to bring new types of games like that I want to experience, then yes, I want the power. But if it's just give me the power so I can see Mario Golf in 4K, I don't care. I don't need that. But I'm all for if it's going to bring third party. But there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee it would. You know? Well, I guess what about you, John? What do you want? Power. Let me ask you this question really quick before you answer.
Okay.
If the Nintendo Switch had the same amount of power as the Xbox, would you still own the Xbox?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was not prepared for that. Wow, you need to put that in the show notes, Drew. You got to give me time. What have I played on the Xbox? I haven't played a lot of exclusives on the Xbox. No, most of the games I play on Xbox, there's a bunch of games that are only they're on the Xbox and not on the Switch. Life is Strange was one of those. All the Life is Strange games. Zombie, like Zombie U. They weren't on the Switch, but a lot of those games weren't on the Switch because the Switch, maybe couldn't handle them at the time. So I feel like if it was as powerful as an Xbox, companies would port more of their games over, I would think, to the Switch. So if it had the same power, there's a chance I would just have the one system. I don't even need an Xbox today, honestly. I'm not getting rid of it tomorrow, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that the games, like for example, I really enjoyed playing The Witcher on my PS4 and then my Xbox. I enjoyed playing Phoenix Rising on my Xbox. So those are like a couple games where I could have played them on the Switch, but I just didn't because I can get a better graphical experience on the Xbox. So yeah, and in my dream Switch 2, clearly it's going to start with better performance. I don't know if we get up to like PS5 Series X, but I hope the next Switch is more, just even if a little bit more powerful than a PS4 and an Xbox One. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want it to be above those systems. We're not going to get a PS5 or a Series X.
But do you honestly foresee that as a new console, or is it still the Switch?
Yeah, well,
do you know what I'm saying? Is it still a Switch family?
So I think the next device should be called a Switch. I think we got to stay with the moniker. It might be confusing, but it's going to be the same thing. Called a Switch 2 or whatever. I think the Joy-Con should change. Nintendo really made an effort, and like their Joy-Con design, a lot of it is geared towards the fact that they're detachable and they can be held sideways. They wanted to make sure of certain things that if you hold each Joy-Con sideways, they're kind of the same style, even though we know that the second controller is going to be like inset a little bit. I would change the Joy-Con design. I've said this many times. I don't think the Joy-Con should be detachable from the console. If somebody wants to, nobody really plays it in tabletop. I know that was a big selling point for the Switch.
That's
but
fair.
In realistic territory, not many people play with Joy-Cons because they're very tiny. Adults find them uncomfortable. I don't trust them in the hands of kids.
I think you brought up a valid point too now with the market of all these third-party controllers, right? Because when the Switch first came out, it was nice that you got two controllers, right? And then you could buy one Pro controller. They have three. So, for example, if I want to play Mario Party, or let's say Mario Kart, rather, I only have two Pro controllers. Somebody's using two Joy-Cons.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to go spend all that money on Pro controllers. I didn't need 4 Pro controllers for when I wanted to play Mario Kart. So I think that was nice. I think that's a great idea. I could see that the whole detachable Joy-Con thing goes away. The Switch stays. It's almost like a Switch Lite now. You dock the Switch Lite, essentially.
You dock it. The Joy-Cons are attached because it's more solid. That's why I said the Switch Lite is a more when I play Ace Attorney, when I get it on Tuesday, I'm going to play it on my Switch Lite because it's feels more comfortable holding the whole system together as one unit. And with my other Switch, it just feels a little disconnected a little bit.
I'm sure you have. You ever play handheld and like you go grab your cup of coffee with your left hand, and you hold the Switch with your right hand?
Yeah.
It just feels like it's flimsy because you're kind of holding it on by a Joy-Con.
I hold it vertical. Do you do that? I don't know if you do that, but like if I'm holding my Switch with one hand, I'll actually rotate it upwards so that the pressure's coming down on my hand.
I do, or you place it on your lap or whatever. But no, I agree. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't feel like it's meant to be.
I am okay with the disconnection if they felt more stable when they were actually connected to the Switch. So that's one thing I would change on a Switch too. So more power, Joy-Cons connected. I would make the system just slightly larger, so the Joy-Cons are slightly larger, because the buttons on the Joy-Con, like when I play with the Pro Controller, it feels so comfortable. The buttons are much bigger.
Agreed.
If we can just make the Joy-Con buttons a little bit bigger, make the Joy-Con bigger and the whole system bigger if you have to, I would love to see that. It would be a little more comfortable to hold. Definitely it should support the Switch games. It should be completely fully. Nintendo's always really good with this. Fully backwards compatible.
And you
no
still
issues.
use the Joy-Cons. I mean, they'd still be usable.
Exactly. And the Joy-Cons will look pretty much the same. I mean, it's going to have four buttons. I would like to see a D-pad, though, on the left Joy-Con.
Well, you wouldn't have Joy-Cons, is what you're saying.
Yeah. It'd be like the Switch Lite, where you have a D-pad on the left.
Agreed.
And then, like, in terms of other differences, I don't really need. I'm the same as you. I don't really need anything different. I wouldn't put the camera on the Joy-Cons, like, especially because if you're selling separate Joy-Cons in the store, for example, I don't know if you still would or not, but obviously the Pro controllers are $70 and the Joy-Cons can give you two controllers. Enough with like the camera. The camera probably adds a good deal of expense to that left Joy-Con, and it makes the Joy-Con price so high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this. I would not be shocked if they stop putting the camera on on the Joy-Cons in the future. That would make it incompatible with like Labo and like 1-2 Switch maybe. But they can patch it out of the 1-2 Switch, right? They just won't include the games that use the camera. But just think about, like, because remember they did that with the 3DS, where they took the 3D out, and they could make the system cheaper. Those Joy-Cons, if you can sell those Joy-Cons for like $70 without the camera on them, I would do that, because how many games use that camera?
That's a fair point.
Is it just the two that I mentioned? Maybe there's one other game that does it.
Or some,
nobody uses it. So, take the camera off the Joy-Cons. Think about this. There's 80-something million Switches, and how many sets of Joy-Cons they've sold. How many left Joy-Cons do you think are in the wild?
Oh, my God.
Maybe 100 million?
I think more.
There's 100 million cameras. Cameras.
I probably crazy. 200 million.
Okay, I don't think it's 200 million, but let's just pretend it's 200 million. 200 million IR cameras that probably 0.25% get.
I don't think I've never used it in my life.
Didn't you do Labo?
No.
Labo uses it a lot.
I haven't used Labo or 1-2 Switch.
Okay, so you probably have never used the camera.
No.
And think about the waste of electronics on that. Terrible. I mean, the HD Rumble was something that was a little gimmicky, but a lot of games use it. So, that's fine. Keep it. But yeah, the camera just doesn't get used, man. So take that stuff out. Make sure, get it cheaper. Put your money and your processing where it belongs, which is more RAM, more power. Forget the camera. Forget all the gadgetry. That's what I would do. And then the Joy-Cons, like those analog triggers on the new consoles, and I think even the old consoles, they feel really good. Like sometimes when I'm playing an Xbox game and I'm watching a cutscene, I'm like, I don't know if anyone else does this. I'm just kind of like slowly pushing down on my triggers and like letting them go, because it's like a spring. They have like a tension, and it's just very comforting to do it. Whereas on the Switch, it's like a click. I hope that the next Nintendo has that. That would be pleasurable. That's what I want on my Switch too. Not asking too much.
You kind of made my sword go a little skyward there. I mean, that sounds very exciting. I like that.
Yeah.
But we can only hope.
I can't wait to talk about Skyward Sword. Are we almost there yet?
No.
Okay.
Number 4.
It's time for some TV dads. Let's get a little catch up on what we have been watching. Because there's been a lot of good TV lately, right? I think there's a lot of new shows coming out. What have you been watching, John?
Yeah, we subscribed to Apple TV a few weeks ago.
You did it for one show, didn't you?
I did it for 2 shows.
Ooh, okay.
The thing about Apple TV that's really funny to me is Apple throws out 1-year free subscriptions so easily. If you buy a laptop or a phone, like an Apple phone, you get 1 year of Apple TV.
You're right.
So you could literally just have Apple TV for free. If you're like me, I'm an iPhone developer professionally, so we go through iPhones, we go through laptops. Yeah, so we finally used it because we wanted to watch Ted Lasso and Schmigadoon.
I don't know what that is, but I do want to watch Ted Lasso.
Yeah, so Ted Lasso is as good as advertised. It stars Jason Sudeikis. Drew, I'm an SNL junkie. Love Saturday Night Live. I will follow all the SNL stars to the ends of the earth. And for whatever reason, Apple really likes them too. But yeah, Ted Lasso stars Jason Sudeikis, and he's a college football, a Division II college football coach that gets hired to coach a English football team, like soccer, football, a real football team. And you find out why he was hired. He doesn't know anything about the sport, and you kind of find out why he was hired. But it's a really sweet show, very well written. It's not like a sports show. It is a sports show, but it's more about some other topics. Really great show, really enjoyable. Lots of great acting performances. And then season 2 just started. So we started on that one, and now we got to binge the first season, but now we're in wait every week for another episode.
It's a straight up comedy though, right? Or no?
It's classified as a comedy, but it's got its sweet moments. So,
Okay.
But it's still a comedy. And then Schmigadoon, which just came out, probably less people know about it. But man, it stars Cecily Strong, who is one of the iconic SNL actors of all time. She's just fantastic, and she might be leaving SNL this season. Stars Cecily Strong and Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele. And I mean, if you don't if that's not enough, Fred Armisen is he's also a kind of a guest on the show as well, who's another SNL absolute Mount Rushmore titan. But it stars, so Cecily and Keegan are a couple, and they end up in this alternate universe where they're in a musical. And so I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of, but everyone is sort of like this fake person musical. It's not a dream. We really don't know what's going on, but they ended in this alternate reality.
Sounds like that show. What was that show where they're all in the afterworld?
Lost or
no? Amy used to watch it. It's a comedy. I don't know. Anyway,
it feels familiar to some shows where the people aren't real.
Yeah.
But if you love, if you love SNL, it's total SNL humor. If you love Key and Peele, Key is great in this, and it's really funny. It's there's a musical, but they're kind of not in on it. And the funny part is that Key doesn't like musicals, so he's just not really enjoying that everyone starts breaking into song. He's just really not into it. So it's hilarious. And I think we've only watched the first 3 episodes. We got to wait every week now because it just came out last week. But I definitely recommend that one. And then last but not least, I'm not watching it, but I will be. Got announced today, finally, season. It's crazy to even say it. Season 9 of Dexter is coming.
Oh boy,
November 7th. Dexter is still top 5 shows of all time for me. I loved that show every season, especially season 4 with John Lithgow, I love John Lithgow from Third Rock from the Sun. And but season 8 kind of ended in a way that a lot of people weren't happy. And it ended, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Wow.
And I gotta look it up. And now they are doing a 10-episode season 9, which is really great because a lot of people wanted them to redo season 8, much like with Game of Thrones. What is it with season 8? They wanted to see it redone. Wow, it ended 7 years ago. 8 years ago. Wow. But they wanted to see them just say season 8 didn't happen. We're redoing season 8. But you can't do that because it was 8 years ago.
Mm.
You know, the characters are all older. How are you going to explain it all? But we're going to get a season 9. And so basically season 8 is not the ending. And hopefully season 9 will resolve a little better. I didn't mind season 8. I know why people were upset. But whatever. I mean, if it doesn't end the way you thought it would. But I cannot wait. My birthday is November 10th. So this is like 3 days before my birthday. I cannot wait for season 9 of Dexter now.
Very nice.
What about you? What are you watching? I'm looking at your list and I'm kind of horrified.
Yeah, it seems like I'm watching some horror stuff lately. So I finished watching Fear Street. Have you heard of that? We talked about this?
I did hear about that.
So this is R.L. Stine. This is his darker humor of Goosebumps. So this is Goosebumps for adults.
Is this on Disney Plus?
No, this is on Netflix.
Okay.
So Fear Street, they did, it's 3 movies. They're titled Fear Street 1994 or 1996, 1984, and then like 1666.
Oh, they take place at that time?
Yes, that's the year they take place. And it has a connecting story. That's not really giving it away. There's this curse of a witch, right? And she possesses this town. And it goes backwards. So from 1994, it's about, you know, these kids that come across the curse, and then from 1984, it talks about a mass murderer that happened in 1984 at a camp, very Friday the 13th ish, and then it goes all the way back to 1666 on how the witch started the curse and about the witch's life, and what kind of led to all the events in the other previous 2 movies. And they're all tied in. They came out 3 Fridays in a row, but right now they're all out. I loved it. This was such a fun, well done, great art style. It was awesome. Very gory. It wasn't necessarily like super scary, I wouldn't say, but it was wasn't like freakish scary, or it was really good. Really, really loved it.
So let me ask you this before you move on. Like, Michelle does not like scary stuff. Would she like be okay? Or, I mean, because she likes Stranger Things, right?
Yeah.
Is it like scarier than Stranger Things, or
it's scarier than Stranger Things?
Okay.
It's more. Well, the next thing I want to talk about is American Horror Story, which I don't know if you watched any of those. It's not as scary as American Horror Story. It's somewhere in between there, but
okay.
I love American Horror Story. American Horror Story is probably one of my favorite TV shows, period. Watched all the seasons. As you know, each season is independent from each other. And they just came out with, on Hulu, a new series called American Horror Stories, which is like every episode is its own story.
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah, you usually do a season as its own thing.
Yeah. And this is a lot of and when they do the season after season, they use a lot of the same actors, a lot of big named actors. And they usually carry over. But this one is a lot of no name actors or stuff like that. It was really cool. There's 3 episodes out. We watched them all. It was good. The third one was really cool. The third one was about a drive-in theater, and they're playing this movie that supposedly, if you watch it, you turn into like a killer. And that's all I'm gonna say. It was cool, but it was fun. But yeah, those are my 2 horror stuff I've been watching lately. There is another, I think, new season of American Horror Story coming out that I'm waiting for as well. And then for fun, my wife got me watch this a few years ago, and it's fun. It's enjoyable. It's called Making It. It is a reality TV show about it's like crafts, like crafting competition. The great part about it is the 2 hosts are Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman.
Wow.
They are just amazing. I mean, obviously they were in Parks and Rec, and they're just amazing together. And they're just nonstop puns and jokes. And again, it's a crafting competition. So I just kind of have to be into that thing. But it's just a simple, relaxing, fun show to watch.
I think my wife would love that. She loves those kind of shows.
You should watch it then.
We were watching Lego
Masters.
But yeah, like you had me at Amy Poehler.
I think you guys would like that. Right now it's in season 3. You probably can watch some of the older seasons, but yeah. So for example, I think the last episode they gave you like a front porch of a little house. Like they made this little, it wasn't that big, 8 feet wide, and you had to decorate the porch to whatever theme you want. And that someone goes home every week, and there's judges. One week they had to create a Halloween costume from scratch, and it's all random little crafting things. It's fun, but I mean these people are legit. They know what they're doing.
Okay.
So that's just some of the stuff I've been watching. Yeah.
Cool.
And then Holy Moly. If you don't watch Holy Moly is the best thing on television. I think I already told you
mentioned that last time.
You need to go watch it.
I need to watch it. I need to watch
an episode. Find it. I
was gonna have my whole family watch Marie Kondo on Netflix.
Okay.
Because I had started watching it a few months ago, when I wanted to interview with Netflix and didn't get a chance to. But I wanted the whole family to watch it because of like kind of her approach to calmness and the way you keep your room clean and clear of clutter. And I was like, I want my kids to see this because I want to see if anyone really just kind of really connects with any of my kids. And then there's one less room. I have to help them clean all the time.
Yeah.
But the first episode's 45 minutes, and I can't impede on Adventure Time. So I have to find a good time to get that first episode in. Otherwise, they're going to be mad at me because I'm cutting into their Adventure Time, which is starting in a half hour. We should do the TV show thing every episode, Drew. We should.
We should. If there's any new stuff, I like that. I like it.
Okay.
Number 3.
It is time for your weekly Mario Golf League update, John. Week 3 is behind us, and Week 4 is upon us. Let's do a little Week 3 recaps. A lot of people didn't like me this week as well, as we went with the windiest course with the strongest wind. And it was interesting. But however, that did not stop. Who was it? Max Power. To shoot one of the most ridiculous scores I've ever seen. A 49. That's 23 under par. That's just incredible. I mean, I think
do we know how many attempts that Max Power made to get that score?
I don't know.
I would love to ask.
I bet you it was 10 or less. Maybe.
Okay,
10?
I'll ask.
I asked him. But week 3 was fun. We had some really good scores. But I'm going to just go through maybe the top 5. The top 5 people right now, overall, this is not week 3. This is through 3 weeks. First place we have is Hambone Johnny.
Gosh.
Second place, Matt's Power. Third place, Moa, myself. Fourth place, Third Strongest Mole. And fifth place, The Strategy.
No, come on, Drew.
Why I always fuck this up? What is
the
it?
Strategery.
Strategery. Those are currently the top 5. Now remember, folks, the top 16 made the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
John, Zablock, you are not even close to the playoffs right now.
Oh, I don't mind.
26th place. That's embarrassing.
There are monthly mayhems where I'm like, let's fucking go. Let's do this shit. Like, yeah. I'm ready. But, Mario Golf is not something I'm super into. I've enjoyed the game. And I've enjoyed, I got to do my round. I'm going to have a good time. Mm-hmm. But, I'm playing Skyward Sword. I'm playing this. It's like, I'll do 18 holes. You know what? But for you, look, I'm mad I'm behind Jesse right now.
Jesse's killing it.
I I'm mad I'm behind Jesse. So
Jesse is the leading Nintendo dad right now, and all four Nintendo dads are playing.
Yeah. I'll try to put in a week. I think we have like a little like really easy 18 holes this week. Yes. So I'll try to put in a good week and see where I can end up. But I'm not going to win this thing. I'm just having fun. I'll let everyone else do it. Hambone Johnny is surprising me because Hambone Johnny is one of those guys. He's like good at every game. But like this is different. This is Mario Golf, and he's just cranking, man.
Yeah.
I don't know who Max Power is. I'd like to learn more about him. Is Max Power, are you a golf guy? Are you
Max Power has two first place. He won week 1 and week 3.
Yeah.
I will say that myself is the only person that has placed in the top 3 every week so far, John.
And I want to know why you're so good at not just Mario Golf, every golf video game. You were amazing even in the clubhouse games.
There's something about golf. I just understand it.
Yeah. Does it help too, like when the game is more realistic, so you can apply what you know playing physical golf, or it doesn't matter?
No,
you just kind of just
because
map it.
I bought the PGA Tour 2K and I sucked at it. It was not easy. It was too realistic for me.
I see.
The problem when you play these types of games, like you want to like hit it far and do fun shots, and that game was like no. Like if you need the real golf, like punch out and lay up, and that's not fun.
Right.
No, this is I'm just all into it. But like you said earlier, week 4, the theme is for this week, how low can you go? We're going on the easiest course possible, the rookie course. It's so easy that they don't even allow you to pick the tees. There's just one set of tees. And we're going to go to the light wind. And when I say light wind, it's pretty much non-existent. There's several holes that will have 0 wind.
Mm-hmm.
I expect someone to shoot 30 under par because there's many holes that you can drive the green on par 4s. So you'll be putting for eagle. There'll be, I think there's a par 5 that you can drive the green on, which means you'd be putting for an albatross. It's gonna be crazy. Now, everyone remember, this is the midweek point. So week 4 will not be interrupted. It's still due the end of Saturday. However, this weekend will be a special bonus tournament, which means if you want to play, it's separate from our league, but there's going to be $20 in cash prizes. $10 to the first place person, and there's going to be $10 for the random drawing for anybody that played in it. And this is going to be a fun tournament. It's going to be different than any other things we've done so far. Okay. If that makes sense.
It's not the week 4 for the tournament. It's something completely different this weekend.
It's just called Tournament 1. It's going to take place Saturday and Sunday. I'll release it early Saturday morning, and it will be due Sunday night. And I'll still do the week 4 recap, and I'll still announce the week 5, but this is going to be completely independent from the weekly tournaments. If you don't do this one, you don't get 0 points, and you're not going to be behind. And if you come in first place, you don't get any points. It's just you just get cash prize.
So, like, if I win it, right? If I win this tournament as I'm expected to, it won't help me with my 26th place.
No,
currently.
Would not. But you'll win $10 eShop.
Sweet.
Yeah, so there's a reason to do it. Can't wait. This is gonna be fun. This one's gonna be very different. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to kind of explain it to everybody. So that's it. Mario Golf League update has come and gone.
Number 2.
John, I have a bone to pick because specifically with the Nintendo dads, I'm not gonna lie. Last couple episodes, Nintendo dads are always talking about, EA not doing this and wanting game companies to explain why they can't do this, or that they're, hey, you know what, we're not doing anything for Zelda anniversary. Here's my problem and question. Do video game fans, really being us or our community, do they really have the right to be angry with game developers or publishers? Right? Why should you be angry at EA because FIFA for the Switch is going to be different than what it is for Xbox or PlayStation. Do you really have that right to be angry?
Yeah. Whether you should or not, I think is a different question. Do you have the right? Sure. I think a lot of people on social media, there is so much tweetage about
nice.
Like, let's not be angry, stop being toxic. I've done it. I've seen Dan do it, Brian, and it's true. We have to stop being so toxic. And I think one problem is everyone interprets toxicity. Like, I don't think I'm toxic about video games, but there's going to be people out there that think I am toxic because maybe I criticized a game. And it goes with this too. It is logical for people to be frustrated that EA is not doing something, or that Nintendo's not celebrating Legend of Zelda correctly, that sort of thing. I don't think it's toxic. I don't like the entitled word. I think people way overuse entitled. It's not entitled. But I don't think a game company owes you anything when it comes to how you would celebrate. Nintendo celebrated the Super Mario anniversary with a lot of cool stuff. But Mario is different than Zelda. Mario is the mascot for Nintendo. And they, I don't know if they put in a ton of work on Mario 3D All-Stars or whatever, but we got Super Mario 35 and we got the Game & Watch and all that jazz. I don't think Nintendo ever owed us like a Legend of Zelda anniversary, right? A Metroid, a Kid Icarus, which is ridiculous, by the way. Kid Icarus, come on. But I understand why people mention it or upset about it. And that's because nowadays, everyone's got a podcast, everyone's got a Twitch stream, everyone's got an account, everyone wants to state their opinion. And it ends up with everybody having opinions. And of course, we're not going to agree with all of them. And it does end up being this like toxic soup, if you will. So to answer your question, you shouldn't be angry, but I think it's fine to like say, well, here's my opinion. Here's what I would have liked to have seen. Here's what I would have liked EA to put out. Here's what I didn't like about this release of Mario 3D All-Stars. But everyone's just got an opinion on it, and it does come off as, this is what we should have got.
I mean, well said. I don't really have a rebuttal. I mean, you killed it. I kind of agree. I don't think we have the right, but like you said, I think the avenues that are available for everyone out there nowadays, it's easy to discuss it. It's easy to bring it up. It's easy to express opinion. But yeah. I mean, I just, me, I'm very simple. We already talked about it earlier about I can play through any type of garbage in a game where it's none of my fucking business what EA wants to do. If EA wants to not put a FIFA game out, they don't have to do it.
Well, they shouldn't.
It's just I'm happy with what I get. I can want something, but I don't really question. I don't think they owe me anything. I don't think they owe me an explanation on why they're doing it. I don't think they owe me an explanation on why they need to charge $30 for a game when it's $20 on other systems. And I don't think I need to know why. I don't. Maybe Nintendo takes a bigger cut than Xbox and Sony does. I don't need to know, and I don't really care. If I don't want the game, I won't buy it. If it's not in the system, I've been telling you guys for years, I want a Lord of the Rings game. I want. It's not here. What am I going to do? I can bitch all I want. It's not coming.
Shadow of Mordor.
Not happening.
Is that it? Is that the big one? And this might be my developer coming out. But people are always saying, oh, this company should do this, this company should do that. And a lot of times they're right? EA should support the Switch better. But keep in mind, this stuff is not easy. Like, resources are needed. People don't understand that even a port requires resources. Think about if you have a game. Let's take a game like XCOM, okay? You want to port, like, should I port XCOM to the Switch? Oh, well, we already wrote the code. Well, okay. Well, we don't know what the engine is. We don't know if there's a Switch port for that engine. You have to make sure all the instructions explain the controls for the Switch. The setting screens reflect a Nintendo Switch. The controls are designed for the Nintendo Switch, right? You've got to test the whole thing. You've got to have a testing team that's testing every level, all of these areas to make sure that it's running correctly in the confines of the memory of a Nintendo Switch, which is less than an Xbox and a PlayStation and a PC. There is a lot you have to do. You have to create the cover art. You have to have the game put on the chip. You have to do marketing, commercials, ads for the Nintendo Switch version. There's a lot to it. So I bet you a lot of game companies would love to port their games to the Switch. With the install base is gigantic and indie games do great on it, but you don't always have the resources for it. So just keep that in mind that, yeah, it might make a lot of sense on the Switch, but it could be there's just not enough people to go around. Just keep that in mind when, Nintendo puts 3D All-Stars out, but doesn't put a lot of effort into changing the original games because maybe they're working on Odyssey 2 or something like that. But opinions are great, and critical opinions are great too. Let's not downplay those too. If you want to shit on a game. Don't make it personal. Don't send death threats to the developers. Don't say that a company's being greedy or anything. You don't know their motivations. Companies, businesses are always greedy. That's what makes a business. But just give your opinion on the game and try to keep it there and move on. But I think opinions are great on this stuff. So, keep them coming and all that. Keep them coming. But just moderate. Just moderate just a little bit. Just moderate.
Well played.
Marty. No.
And number 1.
Speaking of Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary. We did get the Game & Watch, but I don't know what else we got, but we got Skyward Sword HD. Came out last Friday, so it's been out for about 10 days now. And you and I have both been playing it. We didn't talk about it earlier. Mm-hmm. What are you thinking about it? Do you like it? Tell me how it's been going for you. Where are you? Okay, wait. Before we start, are spoilers a thing? I don't really remember the game much.
That's a tricky one. I don't remember it at all. So it's all brand new to me.
Okay, so moderate potential spoilers. We try not to spoil story stuff or whatever, but but
we'll stay living.
Okay.
Here's my take. I'd like to quote Jurassic Park. Just because they could, they didn't stop and think if they should. Here's my problem with Skyward Sword. The game's fine. The game's fun. I love their dungeon designs, their weapon designs, the world, all of it. It's fun. It's great. It's story. It's great. But why take a motion control game? This is like the big question I'm trying to understand. Why take a game, motion controls, right? Obviously, a lot of thought, engineering, design changes, control changes had to go into this specific game to bring this to the Switch, right? Why Skyward Sword? And again, I'm one of those. Love Twilight Princess, love Majora's Mask, love Ocarina of Time. I didn't want any of those remade. I played them enough. I don't need them again. So thankful for Skyward Sword because I played it once. It's one of the only few Zelda games I played once. I don't want Wind Waker. Favorite game ever. I don't want it. I played it enough.
Right.
So I'm happy with the choice, but it just seems odd to me that they picked this game to go through a complete control change. Because I'm going to be blunt, the controls fucking suck. And people can say, oh, you get used to them. Sure, you get used to them. That doesn't mean they're good. You get used to them. When I first unlocked the bombs, it took me at least an hour to figure out what the fuck I was rolling them and throwing them. I picked them up, I put them on the ground. I picked them up, I put them on the ground. I put them in my
and then you blow up.
I'm like, what am I? You have to pick it up, hold the down button on the right joystick, control the left joystick, left and right, and then roll it. It's just
ZR,
it was just very why? Again, the games. Let me rephrase this. They did a great job at the controls. I'm not saying they didn't do a good job. They did as good a job as they could for a motion control game onto a controller, right? Great job, great idea. It's just why? Like, why try the challenge just because they said, oh, we could do that. Let's do it. They didn't stop and think, should they do it?
I don't know. I disagree with you completely on this. I don't know. I wanted to do a Skyward Sword episode for Every Twix last week, but I had only played for a couple days, and I'm glad I held off because I played for I'm at the 34-hour mark right now.
Oh, good Lord.
And yeah, so I'm glad because I've gotten more experience with it.
Well, I'm at like 13 hours, so I'm okay. On Dungeon 3. I'm actually in Dungeon 3. I just did all the desert shit before that. That takes forever, I feel like.
Okay, adorable. So this was one of my predictions for the year. It didn't make my top 3. We only did 3, but I had Skyward Sword written down because it only existed on one console, and they did fuck up the controls. I was listening to NVC. I hadn't heard this story before, but I was listening to NVC, and I think it was Pear who had mentioned that the reason why the controls for Skyward Sword went to motion the way they are is because the producer of Wii Sports Resort went to Aonuma and said, you got to do this. This is the future. You need to make Zelda with motion controls. Every game is going to be like this from now on. And it's kind of funny because they went in that direction and they didn't quite get it. I think this was a great game to bring over to the Switch and to change the controls, because I do feel like a lot of people's opinions of Skyward Sword are completely consumed by the controls, that it's hard to get an opinion on the game because the controls were so fluky. And I enjoyed my time with Skyward Sword. I can't really remember how much I futzed with the controls, but I'm sure I did.
Yep.
And when I started playing this on the Switch, I started with the button controls, and I really wasn't liking the way you have to hold down the L button to do the camera. Yeah. Every game you just use the right stick for the camera.
I mean, yeah.
And I went to the motion controls. They said I almost quit. I was like, I'm gonna do the motion controls. I'm just gonna do the motion controls. It's too bad the button controls didn't work out. I'm gonna do the motion controls. So I had the Skyward Joy-Cons, and I played with them, and I enjoyed them. And right towards you did this dungeon. I think it was the first dungeon, or the second dungeon, where you have to jump across the vines, and then there's some tightrope walking, and you kind of have to do it and then go back and then do it again. It was so frustrating. I kept dying, kept falling, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I again was about to quit because none of the controls were working for me. And that's when I decided to go back to the button controls, and I've been doing them since. And my muscle memory is now working on the button controls. I like the button controls a lot better for moving accuracy. So on that point, I disagree with you. I think fixing the core control problem of this game now lets us see Skyward Sword without the cloud of the motion controls. But I'll go a little bit further now, and it's kind of like what you said. I'm finding that I'm not having trouble with the camera, and I'm not having trouble with the sword, and I'm not having trouble with anything. I'm having trouble with the items on your ZR, because on the button controls, and I think on the motion controls too, if you want to use a weapon, if you want to change your weapon, right, you hold down ZR for a second, and then you pick your weapon, and then you let ZR go. But if you want to use the weapon, you press ZR. You just tap it, right? Yeah. So if you want to use the slingshot, you tap ZR, and then it brings up the aiming reticle. And then you hold ZR to aim, and then you let go of ZR to shoot. They mapped ZR to so many functions on the items.
I haven't had that problem at all.
I constantly, when I'm in battle and it's I need to use my weapon, I will instinctively hold, if I want to use an arrow, if I have the bow and arrow equipped, this is when I run into trouble. If I have the bow and arrow equipped, I have my sword in my hand, and I'm I need to use my bow and arrow, and I hold down ZR. Well, it doesn't bring up the sword and bring up the aiming reticle. It brings up the weapon selection. And then it's no. And then, of course, I always accidentally change the weapon, and then I try to do something, and then I have a bomb. And it's no. Bring up the bow and arrow. I wish they would have had a different button for the weapon selection than the use. I want to be able to just at any moment hold down ZR to instantly bring up the bow and aim it, not tap ZR and then hold ZR to aim it. I feel like they fucked that up.
I don't have the bow and arrow yet, but I'm trying to think of the slingshot if it does it the same way.
It's the same way with a slingshot.
I don't remember having to hold ZR to shoot.
You do have to hold ZR to shoot,
I don't
but you
think
have to
that's
you tap
true.
it to bring up the slingshot at first. You'll see.
You tap it, and then the little cursor brings up.
But then you got to hold it down to get a hard shot. Yeah. You can tap it. If you tapped it, it might shoot like a weak shot. But especially later, if you upgrade your slingshot too.
I think you're right. The scatter shot. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Maybe you are right.
Of course I'm right.
I don't know. Shit.
It's just there's too many things mapped to ZR, and they needed to pull something off of ZR. Let me bring up, like, when you hold down R, that brings up your item selection. Like, that would have been perfect to bring up your weapon selection, but then ZR just uses the weapon.
They use a lot of buttons.
It's just too much. There's too many buttons in this game.
They actually use the L and R joystick buttons quite a bit too, which is a little bit of annoying. There was that place you had to put the sword into the key, turn it, and then once you're turned, push it in on an angle. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to break my Joy-Con. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to rotate it and push it in while it's rotated.
Pushing the analog sticks is not a very natural. All of the consoles do it. I think it's a more comfortable on. I know my Xbox controller, it's more comfortable than it is on like Joy-Cons, but I don't love it. I don't love pressing that stick in, because when you press, you invariably are moving the stick too. It's hard to push it in perfectly.
Correct.
And it invariably moves the stick. So like when you have to go to the boss in the dungeon, you rotate that little key into place.
Yes. Yep.
And then you have to press L and R together.
Yeah,
and most of the time, like, it'll actually rotate the key right before it presses in, and you might mess it up. It's just
I had a problem with that. I thought I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, overall, listen, I'm glad they brought this game over, right? I just think it was an odd choice with the controls. But I understand from the point of view is they've never ported this game before. I 100% agree with your point where people needed to experience this game. And I think we all know the answer here. This has to be some type of tie-in to Breath of the Wild 2. Even if it's just the Skyloft or the Loft Wings or something is going to be in Breath of the Wild 2.
Oh, absolutely. I don't remember Skyward Sword very much. I played through Skyward Sword completely.
Yeah.
But I mean, even the very beginning of the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, I didn't even occur to me, like, the way he's falling from the sky is exactly what happens in Skyward Sword.
I bet you we see another trailer where that just extends and he lands on his loft wing.
Possible. Possible. But that's definitely a reference.
Differently. But I don't know, like you said, the game itself, I mean, if you liked Wind Waker, this is its sister, right? I mean, it's the same, not as in depth, but it has the exploration, right? Of the islands and fun, you know.
So can I talk about it a little bit?
Sure.
I have enjoyed. I have played. I'm like 34 hours in or so to Skyward Sword. I've been playing it a lot. Played it almost all day today. So I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I'm having fun with it. And I don't remember the whole story of Skyward Sword. 11 years ago, I don't know what I was doing. I had babies. So I don't remember it much. But there is, like, I'm playing this game and constantly like, oh, I remember this room. Oh,
yeah.
I don't always remember what I did to get through the room, but I keep having these like memories. And then other times I'm like, I don't remember this shit at all.
Agreed.
So I've had fun having these flash of memories.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm having fun with it. I don't like that the game is constantly backtracking you to these three worlds, right? You start off in Skyloft. Eventually they open up the forest, and then they open up the volcano and the desert, and then that's it. That's all you go. And then the overworld area, the clouds. It's so boring. There's nothing.
It's empty. It's a lot of
very empty. And there's not a lot of stuff. Like, even in Wind Waker, like, sailing could be boring, but there was always like little things to find if you cared. Agree. A treasure chest, a little island here or there,
a monster, a boss, a mini boss.
Yeah.
the music, the wind. There was something about it. I agree. It was so much. This is just boring. I agree. And it's like that island over there. And it's like, it takes you forever to get there. You know, it's
you're
like
sitting there and you feel like you're not even moving.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can actually get stuck. If you try to like go by Skyloft, you have to kind of get away from it sometimes. Like sometimes you're literally not moving in the sky. And then they give you the speed bursts. And man, I really wish they would have just made those speed bursts come back faster. Like you got to use them and then you kind of wait for all three to come back. Because if you use it too soon, you got to wait.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so empty. And so like there's the game's constantly sending you back. Forest, desert, volcano. Forest, desert, volcano. Sometimes you have to do something in the desert and you have to go run to the forest to come back to the desert. And it's like, why can't I warp? Like I understand they want to take you out of it. They want to make you travel on the Loftwing. But it's like, God, if I could warp from any of the statues, the way like when you go into one of the areas, you can choose which one you go to. It's like, oh my God, like I have to go back up in the sky and then I have to go fly to the beam. It's a little repetitive. And then there was a section of the game. I'm kind of just getting out of that where it's like dungeon. Like when I finish a dungeon in a Zelda game, I enjoy the dungeons. I don't want to see a dungeon again for like.
Let's be honest. The most fun part in any Zelda game is when you just beat a dungeon, you have a new weapon, and you want to go back and explore the world, right?
Yeah, Metroidvania style.
To find new. The problem with this game is that world to explore is fairly small.
Yes.
Right. You can do all of your exploring in between dungeons in probably a half hour or less. Right. You go to an island or two. You get your stupid chests. You get an item that maybe you go to Skyloft and find like one thing. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to the other world, maybe you unlock like, oh, I have a bomb now. I can blow up that wall. But it's not. You're right. It's in a weird way. It's linear, but not linear, if that made sense.
It's very linear. And some of the stuff that you could go back to and find, like I know there's like a quarter container heart in a little prison cell in the first dungeon. And I want to go back and get it, but like I don't want to go into the dungeons. Like if it's an overworld where I can explore, like Skyloft has a few areas, like you said, where you have to get some items and you can do something. But it's like I don't want to go back into a dungeon and get lost in a dungeon so I can find the quarter heart that might be hidden somewhere. It's just not where I want to go. I want to go
the game without the quarter heart,
in the overworld. Yeah, and when I played Skyward Sword, like. One of the things that motivated me to play it on Switch is I didn't 100% the game on the Wii. I rolled credits and I was done. And I was kind of thinking, I'm going to try to get everything in this game. I want to see everything that there is in this game to offer. But there's really not much more. There's some side quests. And I'll probably maybe do a couple more. But like, I don't know. I'm not like totally engaged and be like, oh, I want to like do that thing for the guy where I bring the pumpkin juice to all those people. I don't want to really do it. I
don't want to fly around. Yeah.
I have no motivation to do the extra. There was, in Skyloft, there's that little, I don't know how to describe it. There's this little area. You've probably seen it. It's like on a farm or something. There's a door and a window and you can see a chest in there.
Okay.
And it's like, how do I get in there? It's like, how do I get in there? Like, I think someone has to let me in. The door won't open. How do I get in there? And I looked at that thing like 6 times over my 34 hours. And then I finally noticed, I was like, oh, there's a little pond. Oh, it goes a little deep. Oh, you can swim underneath it and into it. And I was so excited when I found the hole and I was like, oh, there it is. And I went in and I got up and there was 2 chests in there because I had done one of those boxes.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 items that really I could give 2 shits about.
Have you gotten to the point yet where you kind of have to farm materials?
No, I've never feel like I've ever had to stop in this game and do some side questing or get more hearts. And that's like most Zelda games. You never really have to grind, which I think is a good thing.
No, but this is also the first game that really introduced droppable items that you can upgrade your weapons. Right?
I've never found a use for it. I did upgrade a couple of, every so often when I go back, honestly, I don't really like that. When you finish a dungeon, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to Skyloft and I'm going to the bazaar and, refill my potions and then go check with the guy and see if I can upgrade something. And I never have like much I can upgrade. Like I've had it happen a few times, but I just don't feel like the level of progression makes me feel really more powerful. And none of the, I mean, gosh, I have an upgrade where my slingshot can shoot multiple, as one.
You don't even use it anymore, probably.
I don't really need it. I mean, aiming is really easy. It's not a challenge. I don't need the multi-shot. It doesn't really make me any better.
I mean, I don't have the bow and arrow yet, but once you do, like, do you even need the slingshot?
You do. I mean, you can use the arrow usually when you use the slingshot, but there's time. There's definitely a time I can think of where you have to use a slingshot.
Yep.
But yeah, like it doesn't. I wish I could feel a level of progression. The bazaar is just a weird place. It's this one little place. There's a couple things. I have to like fly all the way back to Skyloft to go fill up a potion and then have to go back out in the sky. It takes forever. Like that stuff is kind of messy. And yeah, I wish Skyloft had more interesting things to do. There's some side quests. Yep. There's some people you can discover. People that can make your life better. I need to figure out how to get more pouches because I keep getting stuff that I can
you gotta
upgrade.
buy them for Beetle.
Well, you can buy one or two, but that's it. I think you have to earn the rest.
I could buy like I think I have 3 of them from him. You can buy.
Then I'm maxed out because I got a third bottle and I was so excited and it was like, nope, you gotta. I put it in the item shop for you. Yeah. And it's like, all right. So I have like next to no upgrades because I have these 3 bottles.
You go talk to the monster guy for the side quest?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a couple upgrades from him. Yeah, but it's weird because you find those gems kind of randomly too. I don't know. I'll try doing some side quests. It just doesn't feel like it's really helpful. So it feels like a waste of time. Like I could spend an hour doing one of these side quests, but it's like, why? What am I going to get? Like maybe a quarter heart? Like it's like, oh my God, like and the main quest is really just not hard enough to really warrant having to do that. It's more about the puzzle solving. Yeah. I can't stand that boss too. Girahim, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name.
Oh yeah, yep.
He just like catches your sword. It's so frustrating. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The game does have some game design issues that affect it as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, there's got to be a bigger reason why they picked Skyward Sword, why they put, only can imagine, a ton of money and resources into this game.
I don't think they did a ton, but the thing is, Wind Waker was re-released on the Wii U.
I think they decent amount. I mean, it wasn't. You talked about ports earlier. This is even more of a port change with the controllers.
Sure, but I don't know like how much resources they put into it.
True.
I'm just saying is the Wind Waker was redone and even HD remaster already on the Wii U, and it would be great to have it on the Switch. I might be tempted to play again because I really haven't replayed it on the Wii U. Mm-hmm. It would be great to have that one again. It would be great to have Twilight Princess on the Switch. So great, but Skyward Sword needed a gameplay tweak because even if you broke out your Wii, you still would like to have the button controls for Skyward.
I mean, I think at this point now we've had almost every newer Zelda game remade, right? From Ocarina of Time all the way through Twilight Princess, essentially.
I think, yeah, except for the original 2. We have never seen updates to the original 2.
I hate to say it, God, I almost hope we don't. I mean, they served their purpose.
You wouldn't want to see just a little... I mean, I would love to see...
The problem with that is it's like the game's short as it is. I don't know.
I mean, we already have it on Switch Online, so like I'm just glad that we can play those games.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my Game & Watch again. I mean, I think they need to start digging into some of more of the Game Boy and 3DS games, right?
No,
like
Triforce Heroes. We need a Triforce Heroes
port. I'm all in, John. You know I love that game. I think that was before me and you really started being friends.
This is what we would do, Drew. They would release Triforce Heroes. I would plan a weekend. I would fly out to Rhode Island, and we'll find somebody else who lives near you who'd be interested, maybe like Tim or something.
Hambone Johnny.
Hambone Johnny, if he's into Triforce Heroes, a whole like guys weekend.
Yeah.
And the 3 of us local play an entire weekend, pizza, drinks, everything. 100% Triforce Heroes together. It would be amazing.
Man,
just do it.
I have it. Actually, I feel like I lost that game, but I have it. I gotta have it.
I have 3 copies of it.
Great, you should bring one.
No, I have it on the 3DS, but I would buy 3 for the Switch.
No, but they need this. They need to go after like the Spirit Trats, Mission Cap, Seasons, whatever the hell they're called. Like I don't know. Like those are the games a lot of people kind of skipped or don't remember.
Yes.
You know, I was so pumped to see A Link's Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's an amazing game, and everyone has to experience that.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think I ever played through it. That
was one of my other top 3. So
yeah, Oracle Seasons and Ages I still haven't played. I tried to play it on the Game Boy Color recently.
I've never played through Minish Cap.
It's really good, Minish Cap.
I think I remember playing a little bit of it, but I'd love to play that one.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that one being remade, if any.
Yeah, I can too. I'd love to see them remake a lot of these.
Was that for DS? Was that before 3DS?
Minish Cap is GBA.
Game Boy? Oh, which is better because it's just one screen. Right? Because once you start
stream,
like for example,
I have it.
Spirit Trats and the Phantom Hourglass one, those start getting tricky to remake, right? Because a lot of touchscreen controllers, dual screens, but the Game Boy and Game Boy Color ones are a little bit easier.
They would, and those games just aren't good enough to warrant switching up the controls and making changes to it because they were designed for a low resolution. Was it DS or 3DS? I can't remember. You'd have to
completely redo it. You'd have to do
not elite games. Yeah, but like Minish Cap, definitely you could make a Switch version.
Minish Cap and Awakening graphics. Let's do that. All right,
I'd love to see it. There's so many.
Skyward Sword. What would you give it? 0 to 10.
I really enjoyed Skyward Sword. I'm glad I got to play it again. I do have some gripes, but I'm really glad. So I would give it a solid. I give it an 8.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, I'm not far enough in it right now, but I'll next week.
When you finish it, I want to ask you what your favorite sort of dungeon experience was in the game, because I am just finishing up what I think is my favorite dungeon of the game, and I want to talk about it. So hopefully in a couple weeks you'll be done with it.
Yeah, I've only played really this weekend, and I'm 13 hours in because I was on vacation. So
yeah, you got to catch up.
All right, cool. John, what do we have coming up next few weeks?
It's a special week for John. It's a really good one. This Tuesday, July 27th, today, if you're listening to this, Neo, The World Ends With You comes out. I don't give a shit. The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles are out right now. As you're listening to this, little John is sitting at work. Can't wait to go pick up his copy at Best Buy. $40 game, by the way. Very cool.
Now, what is this a remake of? Is this
they've never ported this. They haven't ported this from Japan before.
Was this a Game Boy handheld 3DS? Was it something 3DS?
I think it's a Switch game. I gotta look and see. I think it's a Switch game.
It was Japan exclusive Nintendo 3DS.
Oh, it is 3DS. Okay. Yeah, obviously they remade it. But yeah, like I had never really heard of it. I don't really follow like the Japanese releases, but Ace Attorney is one of my top 3 favorite series, and I've been waiting for this a while. And I'm really glad that I'll be done with Skyward Sword when it comes out. So I'll be playing nothing but this game for a while. But yeah, really excited. And it's like I said, it's $39.99. It's great. I'm very excited. And then Blaster Master 03, which is really getting really weird to say. That comes out July 28th. So all the games for these next 2 weeks really come out in these next 2 days. But it's going to be exciting. A lot of people are super hyped up for a sequel to World Ends With You. I did not like that game. So I'm happy for all of you, but I will not be partaking in that one. But yeah, pretty good. Not a bad week. And we had all these games. We talked about it. All these games coming out one after the other. Lots of big releases coming out for Nintendo. I mean, not everyone's going to love everything. But Skyward Sword was like the beginning of it. And then this is like part 2 with Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. But unless you're into No More Heroes 3, August is basically empty. So August is the month to sort of like catch up. And then September is going to be the craziest gaming month, my craziest gaming month in years. So I'm glad August is coming around. Mm-hmm. Get a chance to get above water before we drown. So play Ace Attorney. Are you gonna play Ace Attorney? You're not really.
No, I gotta go look at my list and see what's next on my agenda once I finish Skyward Sword.
It's just a list of Mario Golf over and over again.
Well, get me to Diablo.
I cannot play Diablo, Blizzard. No, I'm not gonna play Diablo now.
What?
We didn't really talk about that today. We really should have talked about that.
What do you mean
today.
You're not playing Diablo?
Were you not around for the Blizzard Activision sort of shitstorm?
We're taking a day out of work and playing. Don't drop this shit at me at the end of an episode. What the hell's wrong with you?
Drew, nobody is going to support Blizzard or Activision anymore. You're the only one now. We have to catch you up on all that.
I don't give a shit if they can take a shit on somebody. I don't care. I'm buying it. I don't care. What was that? They should make the sequel to that Two Girls, One Cup video, and that's okay.
We'll see come September how I'm feeling. But pretty much. I mean, I don't know if you saw Megadads had started doing streaming for. They weren't doing Diablo. What were they doing? Overwatch, I guess. Okay. And now they've canceled their streaming because they don't want to support Blizzard or Activision anymore. And I've seen a lot of fallout from it. A lot of people not buying certain games. They're gonna have to go into some heavy PR mode. We'll see how successful their disaster handling is. You'll have to see. But
I could give two shits. I'll be buying Diablo.
Yeah.
Anyways, don't forget, folks. 20% off, John,
20.
and free shipping from Manscape.com if you use the code NINDADS, NINDADS. Again, 20% off and free shipping at Manscape.com. Use the code NINDADS to unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the right job with Manscaped. And remember, this offer ends the end of the month. July 31st is the last day, so go on, use it now. John, you have a lovely evening. I had a pleasure talking to you as always, and that's all I got.
It's good to get back. Yeah, I feel like I missed you. I missed you.
That's it. You know what? Virtual hug. I wish you were there. I gave you a little hug, maybe a little grab down. You know what? Have a lovely evening, John.
I'm gonna have a smooth handful of balls.
Freshly shaved.
There you go.
Alrighty.
That. Take us away, Sadie. Don't judge us, Sadie.
The Dads After Dark show is a part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. You can subscribe to us anywhere podcasts are available, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. Be sure to join us on the Nintendo Dads Discord in the Dads After Dark show channel for some naughty After Dark talk. Follow us on Twitter @NDadsAfterDark. Ask us a question, and we may answer it on the show. That's all for tonight. Good night, Dads. Sweet dreams.
That was interesting. That was fun.